So you ever have this happen in your office? Somebody makes a proposal, and then the other person says, I can't believe you asked for that.
Welcome to the Three Wise Men of Divorce, Money, Psych, and Law podcast. Sit down with the California divorce experts, financial divorce consultant Mark Hill, psychologist Scott Weiner, and attorney Shawn Weber for a frank and casual conversation about divorce, separation, co-parenting, and the difficult decisions real people like you face during these tough times. We know that if you are looking at divorce or separation, it can be scary and overwhelming. With combined experience of over 70 years in divorce and conflict management, we are here for you and look forward to helping by sharing our unique ideas, thoughts, and perspectives on divorce, separation, and co-parenting.
The opposal, yes, it's an insult to the person. They react as if they've been insulted.
And sometimes it is, frankly, an insult, right?
Sometimes it
so what do you do when you're the recipient of a proposal that you feel, from your perspective, in your divorce case, is so off base or so insulting that you just want to explode or you want to walk out? You came into the room feeling like, okay, this is something we could do. And then the proposal lands like a thud, like a lead balloon on the table.
So one thing I often do is I say, before we start proposals, or as a proposal is being made, in order for it to be valuable, it has to have two things, and perhaps the psychologist would say three things. It has to have value to the person making it. Well, it would do. That's why they're making it, right? It's got to have value to the person you're making it to. And you should be able to point out what that value is to them. And also, I say peripherally, the psychologists say, importantly, it should have value to the family. So you making the proposal need to explain what value it has to you, what value it has to the other person, and is there a family value? Because that turns it around a little bit and asks them to kind of explain their logic, as opposed to, here it is, it's, in a bag and take it or leave it.
Huh. Well, sometimes
he sounds like a mediator.
Yeah, you'd think he might have mediated a case now and then.
Yeah,
sometimes you get a proposal based on a set of facts, quote unquote, that have nothing to do with reality or values. They're just purely emotional. I deserve this. I need this. I want you to give me everything. Or I want you to give me this thing that has no rational basis in the law or in fact. They just want it.
Okay. So that's an opportunity too.
Okay.
Well, so you turn that into an opportunity. So, Mr. or Mrs. Smith, ABC is really important to you. I can tell, okay? Really important to you. What would you be willing to give to your husband in order for you to be able to get ABC?
Yeah, the genie approach, I call it. If I'm a genie and I can grant your wish,
right?
What would you be willing to give up in order to get your wish granted?
Exactly.
So if a person were to come in and as a first offer, sort of a shot across the bow, say that they're entitled to a rather large portion of somebody else's income, how would we structure that if we opine as mediators that that's an undue portion?
Well, I think that you can actually head some of this off before you get to the proposal stage. And I talk to people about avoiding the Mediterranean marketplace bargaining. If you've ever seen that wonderful scene in the Monty Python's Life of Brian, where he's trying to escape from the Romans, but he's got to buy a fake beard and a gourd or something. And he's trying to buy the gold really quickly. And the guy goes, no, you've got a haggle. Offer me 10 shekels. And he goes, okay, 10 shekels. He goes, 10 shekels? What do you mean? It's worth at least 40. And so, again, you don't want to get into that kind of argument. So starting with something that has value to the other person, not just has value to you, is often the place you have to go if you want a solution. Coming in and with a list of demands and red lines that cannot be crossed is very difficult to make work in a mediated environment.
We can't, of course, we can't do that. I mean, we're always transforming positions into statements of interest when we can. I am, of course, therapeutically reading the tea leaves of the future here as I'm
Oh man. The magic of the therapist.
Isn't it great how I'm doing that?
But you are reading some things.
Yeah, well,
So
there's
what is it
that.
that you
And
read?
I'm also I mean, I guess I'm also wondering how the three of us are going to manage a future event that's going to look something like a very one-sided beginning set of offers. We operate oftentimes in a collaborative environment. And when we do these hybrid professional things that are sort of, it's like we have some of that going on, but then not others of it. I find it to be.
Well, it's confusing because no one's absolutely clear on their role. And you know, as I was listening to you, Scott, I was thinking, I think about the same case you're talking about. And the challenge is getting a set of facts that's agreed upon. If you don't agree, it's like Shawn said earlier, if you don't agree on the pie, how the hell can you split it up?
Well,
so often there's a disagreement about what the income stream might be. Well, let's agree upon that before we start trying to divide it.
But oftentimes, you can't get them to agree on the facts. And you'll hear people say, well, you have your truth and I have my truth. Their perspectives will not allow them to agree on the facts, even if it's mathematical. And so then you have to balance, well, what you were pointing to, Scott, what is the interest, needs, and values of the person that's making the proposal and the person that's receiving the proposal? And then how can we make that fit? Okay, you have different perspectives. You see this totally different. You see this differently. So what can we do then to make it so that you can find an agreement that will meet both of your needs somewhat?
Well, I think that's elegantly said. I think that the struggle then is to find some way to allow these two sets of quote unquote facts to coexist in this pool of reasoning. And it's not necessarily a reasonable pool, but it's almost a process pool in which, okay, you know, it's almost like the physicists do this all the time with different particle realities. Well, in this universe, it's like this. In this other universe, it's like that. But even though it's separate because of separate points of view, we still have to find some way to, I don't know, regulate ourselves, if you will, to...
and I want to jump in something that you said, Shawn. I'm sorry, but the numbers I can't make the numbers do anything different. The numbers are the numbers.
Yeah, but I want it to be this.
Well, I accept that, but here's the number. Here is the number. Yeah. There it is. It's finite. Have you ever pulled money out of your purse, Mom, and not had enough to buy something?
I understand.
That's how it works. Okay?
I understand that's what
$25, you got 23, you don't get to buy it.
I understand, Mark, that's what the numbers say, but I still want the house.
Okay, well, I
deserve that. He needs to give that.
Mark already handled that. Mark already handled that, though. Mark said, okay, you know, if that, I mean, the house is a finite thing, essentially. It's a specific entity and it has a certain value. If you want that house,
what are you willing to give up to get it?
Or better yet, instead of you saying, Mark, that math doesn't work, this is what the math says.
Yeah.
Let them do the math.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know you do that. Let them figure out. And so, if people work with me, sometimes I actually force them to do the mathematics with me.
Yep.
So that they can see it.
And then I do my Columbo act.
Yeah.
Just like, one more thing.
Giving all of our tricks
Just one more thing. You've got health insurance at $800 a month. And explain to me how this is going to work when the kids come home,
Yeah. How's this going to work?
Yeah.
And that's really important, because then what happens then is the people own what decisions they're making.
And, the reality is that in what we do, we don't care what they do within reason. And what I mean by that is it's their solution. Whatever works for their family, albeit a reformed family, works for us, as long as there is that magical legal concept of informed consent.
Yes. We don't care what you do as long as you agree. Now,
as long as you agree, and as long as you understand what might happen in a legal environment.
When we started this, we were talking about, I'm coming in as a participant, and my negotiation partner comes up with a crazy proposal, and it makes me angry and I want to leave. I think a really important thing to think about there is, if you become irrational as the person that's making the irrational proposal, it's almost like you're lowering yourself to that level,
right?
And you're making it impossible for you to reach an agreement. It's a recipe for impasse. So
and it's probably a recipe for repeating something that happened in your marriage 100 times.
Correct. So then I'm always about, okay, so that's just a proposal. The person made a proposal. You don't like it. We get it. You don't like it. That's not a proposal you like. What would your proposal be? And force them to make a counter proposal. Or maybe not force. We don't force anybody to do anything, but make it a strongly worded opinion that they should make in a proposal.
Well, sure.
And I think that people need help with that.
Yep.
But what I mean by that is it's something that you can't do on the fly very easily when you're angry.
Yes.
In other words, I've gotten this totally unreasonable proposal from my soon-to-be ex-spouse. And I'm supposed to make a proposal back. Well, you want to know how you can make a proposal? I can make a proposal too.
3 snaps in a circle.
Yeah. You want $6 million? Oh, I think you're worth about 1.5.
Yep.
It's like, so you've got to you've got to avoid that happening.
Oh, that happened to me today. I met with this couple, and he came in with a proposal, and she was so incensed that she's like, well, then I'm not giving you anything.
Exactly.
Which wasn't helpful to her. And then, of course, his proposal was ridiculous, too, and it wasn't helpful to him.
Yeah.
And so, in that situation, I had to kind of go in separate rooms with this particular couple and help them to think more clearly. Mm-hmm. Just not that, I'm going to go in there and control how you think. But what it is, I want everybody take a deep breath and think logically instead of emotionally.
Right. Be strategic. What's your outcome? I want to have everything. I want her to have nothing.
What do you think, Scott?
I understand that, but how would that work?
It's okay. No. He's saying essentially where we started here, that notion of you want what?
Yeah.
I gotta say that that in a litigated environment, people do tend to start with the extreme on their end and patiently force the other side to pull them to the middle to the extent necessary. Mm-hmm. And that in law school, that's sort of
how you do it.
You're taught to ask for double what you think you're really going to get.
Yep.
Yes, vigorous representation.
Which is really terrible negotiation, in my opinion.
Well, yeah.
I think it works if you're adversarial.
It wastes a lot of time.
Yeah, well, it's all that the marketplace that he was talking about, where you're just bouncing back and forth, or a used car sale.
Right. Yeah.
But if you make it about interest, needs, and values, what are my interests here? And then you articulate that to the other side, like Mark was suggesting. and you think about what their needs are, then you can probably get somewhere. I mean, the whole premise of our podcast, guys, is that you need the emotional, the legal, and the financial to kind of come together for there to be a settlement, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's true. When people are making, if you get this proposal and it throws you off emotionally, it's going to be hard for you to agree to something later.
And the other thing, the one thing I've noticed is that when couples do this, they are focused on each other. In other words, it's punishment or it's retribution in some form is what the offer is really about,
Yeah.
And so one thing I've done is, and this may be frowned upon, but I use the children mercilessly on the I literally will say, so you're going to live in the mansion and you want him to live in a 2-bedroom condo in somewhere far east. Okay. And you want your children to go back and forth and see the difference. How is that going to work for your kids? Bring the focus away from the couple onto the children and the impact this kind of suggestion might have. Now, if there's no kids, don't have that opportunity. But that is something that you can
do. No, but where you went there, what you did by doing that was to almost make it impossible for them to ignore empathy in the process through the kids. It's like the one where we're going to be meeting very soon. It doesn't have that element, and the irrational requirements, quote unquote, being posited. I don't know that we have that kind of I think that we're going to have to indulge the marketplace a bit. We're going to have. Don't you think?
Sometimes you sometimes have to do it to get past it.
The other thing, guys, you hit on something really important there, Scott. And when those very highly emotional cases, slowing it down.
Yeah.
And let's indulge in this a little bit. This back and forth, I think, can be really helpful.
And taking away by addressing early the things that create a heightened emotion. Is it because they're still under the same roof? Is it because one or other of them has a bad living arrangement? Is there something related to one of the kids going on that we can help them with?
Yeah.
There's often just one thing that you get past it and everyone takes a deep breath and goes, okay, now we can really work on this because that thing that's driving me crazy every day went away.
I look forward to pre-briefing this particular. I'm finding myself wanting to do it right now.
The temptation is to do it here on our podcast,
and we must not do that.
We must not do that.
But I know. But this particular one. Honest to God, I've been a therapist for 40 years. I feel like I have a lot to learn about dealing with the peculiarities of this one.
Well, and the cases come up like that, right?
Yep. And I think
and perfectly rational people can
from every case.
Yeah, perfectly rational people can lose their crap too.
Yeah.
And especially in this, we were talking about this before we started the podcast. This environment that we're in with. I was kind of joking about COVID. It's like we're suffering from PTSD and we have to go back and hang out with our abuser, which is the virus, right? We have to go back and put masks on again. And we thought we were free. And now it's like the Godfather. They just pull us back in.
Yeah.
And that is upsetting to people, and perfectly rational folks are losing their crap, and it's easy to do.
Yeah.
So we have to be aware of that. And I think folks, when they're going through this, need to be aware that this environment that we're in can make them more volatile than they would normally be, and make their partner more volatile. Okay, so another thing I was thinking about is the complaint. Somebody comes in, she always does this, and I want this, and it's terrible that she's always late for pickups of the kids. And I usually go back to this, okay, well, I hear that complaint. That sounds a lot like a proposal. What do you want? Well, I want her to show up on time. Can you put that into a proposal?
And there's 2 words you should never use Always and never.
Yeah, that's all or nothing thinking. That tells me
exactly. It's like, she's always late. Really? So you've been married for 38 years and she never showed up once on time. Not once, right? 38 years. Wow. How did you survive so long?
Yeah.
No,
but I mean that all or nothing.
But it's that absolutist thinking that puts people on the defensive. I was late this morning. I acknowledge that. I was sorry I'm late. Yeah, I was late this morning. You know what? I'm not always late. Don't take that situation where I showed up late this morning and suggest that I'm a recalcitrant person who's never shown up on time in my whole life, because that's not true, and that pisses me off.
And you're divorcing me anyway, so what do you care?
Yeah, really. That could be later.
But I mean, when these complaints happen, though, it's a proposal in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can dive under that complaint and find out, well, what is it that you want to change? Okay, so you're concerned about punctuality. So let's build that into our agreement. That
I'm sitting here listening to this and I'm laughing. I have a relative. And not only is he always late, he is always phenomenally irresponsible. This is a guy who's this is a distant relative whose parents put his house into a trust, and because he was missing payments. He's the kind of guy who had.
Okay, there's one guy in the world.
He had like
that just proves my
20 parking tickets in the glove compartment of his car. All right.
And
there are people that are so.
He's not a diplomat with CD plates, the diplomatic plates.
The other thing is, when we hear a complaint, it could be that there's a reason for it.
Yeah, and I guess. I think that part of our upcoming meeting is going to involve some of that. There's
but again,
I still think that the operational beauty of getting people to generate proposals and getting people to recognize the interests of the other party, that still works, even with unreasonable people. So,
well, again, like you don't like this behavior. What do you want to change about the behavior? Now make a proposal.
Yeah,
it's more future oriented, right? So whereas a complaint is about the past.
Exactly, it changes the focus. Remember, we can't talk about the past.
No, I always tell people don't talk about the past.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think, making proposals is an important skill that, we try to teach our clients how to do it so that when they're done with us, they can continue to make proposals with their partners, especially if they have children that they've got to continue to co-parent.
Yeah.
So they can have a more productive relationship, even if it's not a marriage, it's a relationship where you can co-parent together.
I mean, that's the ultimate goal of the work, is to give people tools that can make them more effective in communicating after the process is over than they were before they started.
So let's do a summary then. So you get a crazy proposal that you think is absurd and it insults you. So the first thing to do is not overreact.
And don't make a crazy proposal back.
And then just think rationally, even though that's hard. And if you can't think rationally, find someone who can help you think rationally.
Or even ask for a timeout. It's okay to say, I need 5 minutes to consider this, and go and vent.
You can have a response. Again, the word media comes in again, mediate, but a mediated response where, when you ask for that, I'm so upset.
Right.
When you ask for that, I find that so upsetting. it seems so unfair and unreasonable. And I'd hoped that we could, come together and, really move toward the middle right from the beginning, instead of like this and then have to force our way back in. However, I'm going to try to, it's okay to say you're really upset. I mean,
Sure.
Oh, sure. I am not one of these mediators that shut down emotional response. I think, sometimes people need, people are people and they're going to be emotional. And if you're a mediator and you can't handle a little bit of conflict,
you're not going to do a good job.
You're in the wrong frame. You're in the wrong environment. So I do think there's a place for saying what you got to say. I read a quote the other day. My wife put a sticky on my computer, and it says, you can't see it. Conflict is inevitable. Contention is a choice. And I think,
why was she angry with you?
I think she found that somewhere. I don't know who said that, but I like it. She's probably always saying,
was she saying, and now I'm going to get into some real contention with you, and that is my choice.
I choose to contend.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there are people that choose to contend. They would rather be a big part of the problem than the small part of the solution.
There are some people who are most comfortable when they're fighting and arguing.
But most people find it very unpleasant to fight.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it takes years off your life. It makes you feel gross. You think about it all the time. Oh, I should have said this to him.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But really, when you're able to make a proposal that's actually a meaningful proposal based on rational thought, it's a very pleasant experience to actually see something come together.
It's creative.
It's creative. It's collaborative. It's all kinds of good. And that's possible, even with that crazy person that made that nutty proposal to you.
Sometimes it is.
So, Scott.
And yes, sir. Candidly, your case will end.
It will end.
One way or another. You can, it's not like you can choose not to divorce. You're in it.
Yeah. You can either
all
do
you
it
can do
on your
is
terms
control the process that you're involved in.
Yeah. You can do it on your terms or the terms of a stranger in black robes.
Yep.
So, Scott, if I need some help just dealing with my emotional response to that crazy proposal, what should I do?
Well, if you happen to want to speak with a therapist about it or a coach who works in mediating these divorce situations or other situations, you can call me. My name is Scott Weiner, Weiner, and I have a phone and I answer my own phone. 619-417-5743.
And Mark, if you want to, if I need somebody to help me with the math, because, the numbers don't lie, what should I do?
You would go to this wonderful 21st century invention. It's called a website. I know that Scott hasn't worked that out yet. But anyway, I have this website. You would go to pacdivorce.com, PACDIVORCE.com. And everything you need is there, including my phone number. And I answer my phone too.
I think he's worked it out. He just doesn't like it.
It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. I can't figure out whether to work more or retire. What do you think I should do, you guys?
Work more. Work more.
Don't stop.
Of course.
Who needs a family life?
Really. You want to make sure you die at your desk in your 80s,
Well, if you need me to resolve this dispute between Mark and Scott about what technology to use, go to my website, WeberDisputeResolution.com, and we can match you with a mediator who can help you resolve your dispute. That's
who's going to help Mark and I solve this thing?
Huh? Yeah.
No.
We'll just find a teenager we both trust.
There you go. WeberDisputeResolution.com.
Well, and you did it again.
See you next time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Good week to you guys.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Three Wise Men of Divorce: Money, Psych, and Law. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share with others who may be in a similar place. Until next time, stay safe, healthy, and focused on a positive, bright future. This podcast is for informational purposes only. Every family law case is unique, so no legal, financial, or mental health advice is intended during this podcast. If you need help with your specific situation, feel free to schedule a time to speak with one of us for a personal consultation.